I didn't even think about this when it comes to the cures, like the surgeries, like Lasik surgery and reversing the deaf process to hearing process through a cure. And so then I started thinking about, wow, when people are born broken, and I'm going to say that quote unquote, because some people who are born a certain way don't think of themselves as broken. So I don't want to be, completely offending people. But why people go get cures? Because they want to go and reverse something that they're not happy with. They want to change something they're not happy with. And so then I'm like, so with LASIK surgery and doing other types of surgery or implants, whatever, to make you hear again, is temporary. And so this is where you have to understand that the cures, no matter which side of the spectrum you stand on, a cure is something temporary. It is giving you a shortcut to reverse a specific thing on your body or a specific feeling or something that you're not, that is wrong with your eyes or your hearing, and you're using a shortcut to reverse that condition. But then people don't realize that those are temporary. And so when people are born broken, so to speak, and they participate in the cures market, whether it's LASIK surgery, ear surgery, cochlear implants, or just ear surgery in general, they're gonna sacrifice not only their body, mind, and spirit, but they're gonna sacrifice their bank accounts to keep that cure in place, but then not realize at some point none of the cures to reverse the eye issues and the ear issues are going to take, because the body is breaking down. And so you see where our society is going. We have more people being born at major deficits, born deaf, born blind, born autistic, born with all these things. And then modern medicine, biotech goes in and does the shortcuts, and then you're paying for it. And now you're on a string of not only of different drugs, but you're also on immunosuppression types of things, because when your immune system wants to work the way it's been programmed and you're trying to do a cure to override the system, then your immune system has to be suppressed so that way that issue doesn't come back again. But then when you actually finally get off the cures and you want to do it the proper way, yes, it's the long way, but it's the proper way, no shortcuts. Then you have to go and revisit that issue again. Just like when you're feeling stuff on the jelly juice, whatever you put to sleep through the cures, you got to revisit again. And so when you have been so used to hearing stuff, so used to seeing stuff, and you were blind before, but now you can see because you used a cure, then when you want to actually do it properly, you're going to have to revisit that issue again and go through whatever time it takes between, you building your body up, and who knows how long that's going to be. So when you're born at a deficit, trying to partake in the cures market, you are now a prisoner of the medical holistic system. Unless you're able to change your lifestyle and say, okay, I'll go and revisit that blindness or that deafness again, just to go and actually earn the privilege of restoring my hearing and restoring my sight without taking part in the cures. And that's the other side of it people don't realize. And then I realized about Disney and Ursula and the Little Mermaid wanting to be human so she can go and hang out with that prince. And she had to give up her voice in order to do that. She had to sacrifice something of herself to do that, to go and hang out with the prince and win his heart. And that was what caught him in the first place about her, was her voice, and she had to give that up. And so then Ursula's like, poor unfortunate souls, you're coming to me and you want the magic of looking pretty and doing all this other stuff, and there's evilness behind when somebody is purposely born at a deficit, or the system doesn't intervene when someone has all these issues, or they're on a string of drugs or taking part in the remedies, and their kids are born at major deficits. And now we have a magical cure. We have a magical cure that's going to give you a certain amount of time of getting the privilege of sight and hearing and no disability. But then you have to be on their string of drugs and reuptakes of whatever. And even then those don't work anymore because the cures wear off. And then people are back to where they were before because they never took the long way around. They had to take the shortcut, and the shortcuts are deadly. and they bring you in a false sense of whatever, and you think that everything is great with that cure. But no, one of these days, you're not going to be able to see again if that's what you took a cure for, so that way you can see again. One of these days, you won't be able to hear again. And I don't think people are prepared to deal with that. And so when they have kids at a deficit and they're partaking in the cures market, whatever, whether it's salt and jelly juice all the time, or it's some other, biotechnical innovation through science, they're not prepared that it's only temporary. And then you don't even know the side effects with all the other stuff when you're holding back what your body is naturally trying to do until you change the programming. Because when you're born deaf, that's a programming. When you're born blind, that's a programming. When you're born with cancer, disease, and chronic illness, that's all a programming. And all the cures on the market to then either stop the pain or reverse an issue through a shortcut, through just, splicing and dicing and doing different programs, that is all then temporary. And the programming, the original programming, wants to come back at some point, until you actually physically change the programming by releasing the B cells and T cell memories that cause the situations to begin with. And then you build your body up by eating all food in the food supply and going through what you were born with until the body then earns that privilege of sight and hearing and actual stable cognition. And so this is so crazy. Because I saw that article about, oh yeah, when someone's born deaf, they can do a surgery where it's like LASIK surgery. And I'm thinking like, oh, I know people had LASIK surgery. I know my husband wanted to do LASIK surgery. I'm glad he's not doing it. I'm so glad he didn't do it. I mean, he has a chance at some point, if he wants to finally take where he's at right now and build himself up. But when you take part in the cures, then you have to go and deprogram from the cures and be back where you were before and deal with that until you actually earned your stable body, mind, and spirit. And remember, some people don't want to earn that. They want to take the shortcuts, not realizing the shortcuts are going to work against them. The cures are going to work against them because it just holds back what already is inevitable until you actually reverse the programming, which is through, food and salt. But the monster also becomes bigger. And that's the other side of it too, is when you don't allow the energy to express whatever it is, and you hold it back with a cure, with J juice, or with anything else, the detoxes and the antibiotics, the situation will become tenfold down the road. And it could be even sooner than you think. The reason why the cures lasted a bit longer before the COVID, because the environment wasn't as dynamic, and you didn't have so many microbes out there swirling around in the atmosphere, attacking you at every turn. And so people were comfortable with the programming of our society prior to COVID. But now that everybody's immune system has been activated by the viruses and all the different therapeutics, now you're getting everybody's therapeutics, their antibiotics, all the things that are weaponized against your food supply and your life force is now being projected into the atmosphere. You're breathing it in, and you're constantly fighting at the microbial level. And if you don't feel it, then you're not realizing you're taking on people's programming that's working against you. And when you finally do feel it, it's going to be that much 10 times worse than what it would if you just would have dealt with it when it first came through. And so that's why you can't be cured in this society today, because you don't know how aggressive it is until you actually feel it. And by that time, hopefully it's not too late for a lot of you. And so that's wow. So I made up a new word. Since Imagineering and Envisioneering was already trademarked, here's Synaptoneer. Because when you're actually bringing in new information and you're finally problem solving within your own world, and you're reading new information and putting together, like ideas, and you're developing your world, it's called Synaptoneer. You're aggressively now creating and developing new neural pathways within your own brain. You are your own Synaptoneer. And if you're not learning new things and problem solving and learning concepts, then you're just regurgitating. So we have regurgitators and we have Imagineers, Synaptoneers, and Visioneers. And those are all the think tanks and the innovators. And we have the regurgitators. But then you can have a mixture of both. So that way you're not ignoring one side of it. You're acknowledging that you must work from a base platform, a base prototype, and then you can build on that. And so you can be a regurgitator and a mimicker, and then also be a synaptoneer or an innovator. Okay? And so I want you guys to see those concepts. So that way you can then start taking inventory in your life. What exactly are you producing? And what are you doing with your life? And why? Okay? All right, bye.